Hey YouTube world, Harvest is plenty. I hope all is well. Thanks for stopping by to check out the video. Please don't forget to hit that thumbs up button or click that like button for me. I appreciate it. So I'm trying to figure out where to start or where to begin to explain this incoming Black Swan event. Oftentimes hindsight 2020 is a great teacher to all of us because sometimes we look back into the past and we can see details that we've missed, communication or whatever, and we say, dang it, I should have known something because of X, Y, and Z. So let's start back and reach back into the past for a quick second so we can understand this incoming Black Swan event.
Jesse,
What
would you have done on September the 12th, 2001? What would you have done if you'd been president?
What would I have done?
Yeah.
I would have done a legitimate investigation to find out what exactly happened on 9/11. How did they know who did this so quickly like they did Lee Harvey Oswald? How quick they knew Lee Harvey Oswald killed Kennedy.
Because the people who did it were identified and we knew who they were.
Well, then why couldn't we have stopped them beforehand if they were identified and we knew who they were?
It was a failure of intelligence. Everyone's accepted
No, it
that.
wasn't. We knew before with Condoleezza Rice's memo on August 6th when it stated right in the memo, bin Laden to steal planes and run them into buildings. And more stuff is coming out now also, how much the Bush administration ignored the intelligence. It was almost like they ignored it because they wanted it to happen.
Oh, come off it, Jesse.
No, not oh, come off it. Wait a minute. Every war fought starts with a false flag operation.
You can't, in all seriousness, sit there and try and make out anybody.
Okay, let me ask you this, Piers. Wait a minute. Let me ask you something. How much studying have you actually done of 9/11 other than what the government's told you and what mainstream media has told you? I've been studying it 4 years.
I was editor of a national newspaper.
I've talked to people.
Wait a minute. In depth every day for 5-6 months.
Really?
So I know a lot about it.
Well,
then
how come? Let me ask you this then.
You cannot say that any member of the Bush administration knew it was going to happen or wanted it to happen. It's a ridiculous thing to say.
Ridiculous. Okay, let's talk about your BBC. I have a tape of a BBC reporter broadcasting directly back to England talking about a third building has collapsed. World Trade Center Building 7 talks for 7 minutes. All the while she's talking, World Trade Center Building 7 is still standing right behind her. It didn't fall for another half hour. Yet they were doing a pre-broadcast back to England that, yes, it's true,
you need to
that
take
this
a break
building fell and it hadn't fallen yet.
If you're trying to make out the British Broadcasting Company, one of the most respected news organisations in the world, was inventing huge buildings falling over, you need to have a break, Jesse. We'll come back after the break and we'll talk about Israel and Iran.
Are you kidding me? This is a fact, my friend.
And then there was this foolishness.
Wall Street actually was the second tallest building in downtown Manhattan, and it was actually, before the World Trade Center, was the tallest. And then when they built the World Trade Center, it became known as the second tallest, and now it's the tallest.
I watched as people jumped, and I watched the second plane come in parts of New Jersey, Jersey City, but parts of New Jersey. I saw people getting together and in fairly large numbers celebrating as the World Trade Center was coming down. I watched our police and our firemen down in 7-Eleven, down at the World Trade Center right after it came down. Everyone who helped clear the rubble. And I was there, and I watched, and I helped a little bit.
Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. I think it's funny. I like to laugh at it, even though it's not a joking matter. So, the Black Swan event that is being telegraphed, have you guys heard about that? Check this out.
2024 may be the year of a Black Swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine, and we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.
So That's what they're telegraphing. That's what they're predicting. But is it really a Black Swan event? If we look back at 9/11, was it really a Black Swan event? And for those of you who don't know what a Black Swan event is, it's an event, a rare occurrence or a rare event that takes everyone by surprise. It's usually very terrible and devastating, and it leaves a lasting effect upon society. That's what they're saying is getting ready to happen in America this year, 2024. I didn't say it. I let you guys hear it from the horse's mouth. But let's further dive into a better explanation of a Black Swan event.
In his book, The Black Swan, Nassim Nicholas Taleb describes certain highly surprising events which generate devastating effects and are considered obvious in hindsight, but certainly weren't perceived as obvious when they occurred. To illustrate this, he tells us to imagine the life of a turkey. Each day, that turkey is fed by its human owner. As such, the turkey ends up trusting humans, and each day that passes reinforces its belief that humans are friendly. Before Thanksgiving, however, the turkey will be in for a dramatic surprise and find out it was wrong all along. It will incur a so-called revision of belief. The same principle is valid when it comes to humans. In hindsight, it may seem obvious why, for example, a certain financial calamity took place, but to the people who actually experienced it, things were anything but obvious back when it happened. In fact, after the next financial crisis hits, people will probably look back and ask why we didn't notice the warning signs sooner. So, should you look around and try to figure out what the next financial calamity is likely to involve? Or the next geopolitical crisis, natural disaster, and so on? By all means, do that, but also do your best to become more resilient in general, because no matter how hard you try, it's very likely that the next calamity will still take you by surprise. As such, prepare for specific threats that you envision, but don't forget to also prepare for the unexpected.
So thank God that you are not the turkey and it's not near Thanksgiving time. But then again, when this Black Swan event kicks off, I have to be honest with you guys, and I've said it a multitude of times on my channel. Many people will die because you cannot galvanize the people for a war unless there's death. You cannot have a covenant unless there's blood. And these demons, they demand a blood sacrifice. So people have to die, blood have to be spilled to give these demons what they want. So I suggest you guys prepare and get ready. I'm not trying to cause fear or panic or anxiety, but I've warned, a number of times what these people are planning. They need World War III. They need America to be committed to war. They need the people to be behind whatever administration, whether it's Republican or Democrat. They need the people to be behind the president so we could go to war and make World War III happen. So if a major terrorist attack, a nuclear event, or whatever takes place in America, it's probably going to be blamed on either China, Russia, Iran, or North Korea, or cutouts that's affiliated with any one of those nations, or a combination of those nations. Who knows what's going to happen? Also, remember, they want to still take the guns away. Try as they might, they still want to take the guns away. And I've mentioned before a couple of times on all my past channels and on this current channel in some of my earlier videos that if there was a Mumbai style attack in America, they would go far in passing a lot of laws. And I'm going to talk about that in another video that's upcoming, so I won't jump the gun on that. No pun intended. But I will leave you with General Dempsey, Mark Dempsey. He was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. And this video, I think, is like 11 years old. He did this like a long time ago, 7 years ago or 11 years ago. I can't remember. Doesn't matter. And he was talking about a Black Swan event being some type of cyber attack or whatever. So that's how long ago they were talking about this stuff. Will the event be both cyber and include bombs and guns and things like that? Probably so. I mean, they have to make it terrible and very horrific. That's what a Black Swan event is. It's going to occur. It's going to be by surprise. It's going to be devastating. And it's going to leave a lasting effect upon society. Just know, as I always said, it's going to be highly orchestrated. Regardless of what the media tell you, regardless of what your favorite politicians tell you, and regardless of what your favorite TV actors and celebrities tell you, because they're going to roll them out to galvanize the public for whatever agenda they're trying to push. They're going to bring in the celebrities. They're going to bring in, all the favorite people that you like, your favorite athletes, your favorite TV stars, your favorite politicians. They're going to galvanize the church and the preachers and the ministers, and they're going to galvanize everybody and bring them all together and push whatever agenda they're trying to push. So just remember I said that. All right. I love you guys. Please prepare. Stay prayed up. And until the next video, may God continue to bless you and your family.
You know, when I measure risk on behalf of the nation, the Secretary of Defense, on behalf of the nation, my job is to assess risk. And the way we assess risk is on the likelihood of occurrence and on the consequence. So there are some things, let's take a nuclear exchange. A nuclear exchange, the consequence is just unthinkable. The likelihood is fairly low. And then there are things that are high likelihood, like a terrorist attack, but the consequence tends to be manageable, albeit horrific for those, right at the moment. But in terms of the threat to the nation, a terrorist attack would be highly likely, but relatively modest consequence, so depending on what it was. But anyway, that's the calculus. So let me put cyber into that mix. So you said, are there any things that are kind of unknown, potentially silent? The Black Swan, if you know the book, The Black Swan. Cyber is the Black Swan. I mean, because we don't know exactly what capabilities exist out there. And so, but we do know our vulnerability. And so cyber is the threat that concerns me the most, both because we're not entirely sure whether nation states, independent actors. I mean, you remember the great train robbery that we used to read about, the great train robbery in the 19th century? You'd read about or there was a movie about it. It was two guys robbing a train that had 100 people on it. How could that happen? How did two people rob 100 people? Well, cyber, one guy with a laptop can rob 100,000 people at the blink of an eye. I mean, that's the power out there, and we're vulnerable. And so cyber for me is the Black Swan. And we're, as I said, we're pushing and trying to both understand it better, be part of a whole of government approach to it. But if you're asking me which of the unknown threats worry me the most, cyber.
2024 may be the year of a Black Swan event. This is a national security event with high impact that's very hard to predict. There are a number of concerns that I have that factor into that. Not only this sort of enduring heightened threat level that we're facing, the wars in Israel, also Ukraine. And we're so divided in this country in ways that we haven't seen before. And I think that just creates fertile ground for our adversaries like North Korea, China, and Iran. And that's what concerns me most.